In life, there are a few universal patterns that can be applied across all domains that, when understood, allow you to really see the world clearly. The Seneca effect is one of those patterns. When you deeply understand the Seneca effect, you can use it to gain mastery in business, relationships, and pretty much any field because it's a universal pattern. You can also use it to avoid massive pitfalls that get in the way of people making progress, and it also corrects one of the large mistakes in the popularly known Dunning-Kruger effect. And we can explain what the Seneca effect is through the story of Kodak. Kodak was founded in 1888. It was a large camera company. And over time, slowly, Kodak grew. It grew and grew and grew to be an absolute juggernaut of the camera space. It grew so large that the Kodak moment has been put into the dictionary for a moment where you just want to take a picture. And in 1975, Steve Sasson, who was a Kodak engineer, had a massive breakthrough. He had invented the digital camera. It was an absolute innovation, completely new to the scene. What was Kodak's reaction? They said, well, it's cute, but let's just ignore it for now. Let's just pretend that that didn't happen. And a few years later, in 1981, Sony released the very first digital camera. And quickly after that, Kodak lost its market share. From a great height for being so large that people were using it to describe the moment when you want to take a picture, it had plummeted. But they didn't learn their lesson. In 2001, 20 years after the first invention of the digital camera, Kodak was still hung up on analog. They were still saying that they were trying to slow down the growth of digital cameras through aggressive marketing. And by 2012, Kodak had filed for bankruptcy. You see, the Seneca effect explains why this happened, and it explains the pattern that could be seen in your business, in your relationships, in your personal life, and how close you may be to a downfall the size of Kodak. You see, Lucius Seneca, some 2,000 years ago, was writing a letter to his friend, which said, "Increases are of sluggish growth, but the way to ruin is rapid." Think how long it would take for you to stack up a massive pile of cards. A deck of cards, all neatly stacked up on top of each other, could take hours. But one nudge, one little mistake, sees the whole pyramid come crashing down. And Seneca experienced this so obviously, so blatantly in 65 AD when the Emperor Nero uncovered the Pisonian conspiracy, which was a plot to kill the emperor. And although it was unlikely, the history says it was unlikely that Seneca was a part of this conspiracy, Nero ordered Seneca to be killed. Seneca had spent his whole life building his reputation, slowly growing, but at a click of her fingers, he was ordered to die. The growth is slow, but ruin is rapid. And the reason for this happening is because life is made up of systems, and systems are made up of lots of smaller parts that are all interconnected to each other. And when one small part of this system fails, all of the systems fail. Imagine you get a blood clot. This blood clot stops blood from getting pumped around the heart, which stops blood from entering the lungs, which stops oxygen from entering your brain, which can quickly result in death. Some tiny thing happening can result in the whole system failing. And this kind of pattern can be seen in your business, in your career, and in relationships. It literally applies to all areas of life. And what happens is people base the future off of what happened in the past. So as they're growing, as they're making progress, they predict the future is going to be very similar to the past, so they get complacent. And as soon as this complacency sits in, massive, rapid deterioration occurs. And this links to the higher level of entropy. Entropy is the second law of thermodynamics, which states that the world is always slowly going towards disorder. Things are slowly getting more chaotic as time passes. If a thing is left unchecked, disorder happens. In a pathway, weeds start to form. A sandcastle is washed away by the sea and cliffs are slowly eroded. And a thing can only be held constant. The only way to fight back against entropy is through persistent effort. It's by making conscious effort to not let entropy sit in, to find ways to stop that from happening. In a business, it's by thinking proactively, instead of just being complacent, and instead of just trying to keep things maintained, it's about growth, because without that constant effort, the world leads to disorder. The Seneca effect is the enemy of mastery. The Seneca effect is the reason why so many experts stop becoming an expert. We've heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect. When you're reasonably new into a field, you're filled with excitement, you're filled with wisdom, you feel like you know absolutely everything in this field. But very quickly, as you start to learn more about this field, you realize how much you don't know. You realize how much of a beginner you are, and you enter this pit of despair where you feel like it's impossible to really make progress. But over time, as you continue to gain knowledge, you continue to work to improve yourself at a specific field or in general, you make progress. You start to slowly trudge up the progress, and eventually, after consistent hard work, you enter the plateau of knowledge, where you get to the top. You've become a master, your knowledge has topped off, and it's very difficult to learn more. Or so you thought. You start to accept the title of being a master. You recognize that there's not that much more for you to learn, so you slow down the pace of your learning. But very quickly, the field starts to evolve. Progress is being made and you're not keeping up with it. You become a master at a previous version of this field, and all of a sudden, you are complacent. You're like the man who looks up into the sky and calculates that the sun is at a 20-degree away from the horizon. You start telling everyone, and everyone thinks that you're amazing. But sooner or later, a boy walks up to you and says the sun has gone and the moon is the only thing left in the sky. Your knowledge becomes outdated and you're now completely incorrect. The Seneca effect explains how slow it is to become a master, but how fast everything can be lost. Now imagine this in relationships. The relationship starts slow at first. You slowly start to learn more about each other. Things are exciting. You put in the effort. You make a conscious effort to give the other person gifts, to compliment them, to learn to understand them, to make sure they're being heard. Slowly the relationship builds and it blossoms. But all of a sudden, when entropy starts to kick in, you stop making a conscious effort, and very quickly, the Seneca effect shows that the relationship can completely fall apart. And we can also apply the Seneca effect to productivity. As time goes on, you build up your focus, you're able to work longer and longer hours, you're getting more done, you're being more productive, you feel great. But you push it too far, burnout occurs and productivity drops. We've seen how this can be applied to relationships, to mastery, to productivity, even to business. The Seneca effect is a universal trend, and if you don't make a conscious effort to avoid the Seneca effect, then your fall will be faster than your rise. If you want more videos just like this one, then click the like button and subscribe, and the YouTube algorithm will show you more videos just like this one onto your homepage. I appreciate you for watching till the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one.